how's it going? It's Colin Daniel here from riffninja.com. Today I'm in the mood to answer some questions from my students. And this question is from Bob, and it's his comment was and question was, I've always wanted to learn to play, but don't know what to do to start to learn. Well, I did my first lesson in this answer for Bob was to talk to him about how to pick a good guitar teacher. And it doesn't necessarily have to apply it to just a guitar teacher. It can apply to just teacher, period. So assuming that you've got that out of the way, or you've decided on a program or whatever direction you've decided to go in, you do have to decide what you want to accomplish with your playing. Like if you've never played before and you're up there in age, 55 plus, and you've never played an instrument before, it's going to take you a lot longer to learn anything. Now, say for example, I've had some students that have played when they're younger, like say in between the ages of 10 and 20, and then given it up, and they come to me in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s wanting to play. Those guys have an easier time with playing or picking up on the guitar just because they had some experiences earlier in their life playing, and they've got some muscle memory, and it has to be woken back up. So there's, again, depending on where you sit with that, would definitely indicate where you would start as to learn to play. I always think as a teacher, most of my students, want to learn some basic chords first, because with chords, you can learn to strum a bit, and you can create music with just a few simple chords. Now, some of you folks might have really slow fingers. Say your work involves like holding a wrench all day like a mechanic, or maybe a hammer all day like a carpenter. Your hands are going to be stiffer. They're going to take quite a bit more loosening up. In that case, you might want to learn a scale or two just to get your hands loosened up. A simple scale, a good simple scale might be the pentatonic scale, the blues scale. Sometimes they call it a rock scale, blues scale, pentatonic scale. You might want to learn that. I've got lessons out there on that scale if you look it up, so you can learn it in detail. And I've got lessons on the basic chords, which is a really good place to start. See, if your hand's really slow, you'll want to use the scale, even if you don't want to be a shredder. Like, even if you don't want to play a single note line, like I just did, even if your aspirations aren't to play like lead guitar, the scale will immensely help your hand become more mobile and awaken those muscles in your fingers, and it also helps with your coordination between your right and your left hand. And then, of course, your strumming gets better for the chords. But I definitely suggest that you start with some chords, because you don't want to be too discouraged where you're playing exercises forever. You also don't want to play nothing but just songs, because the songs help you to a certain extent, but they don't give you as much independence as you need. And you should also learn some theory. Now, here's a place where some teachers will disagree with me, and that's okay. We all have a right to our opinions. I've had a great amount of success with my students. A lot of my students that have come to me don't want to learn to read standard music notation. And the truth is, you don't have to be limited or unlimited, depending on how you look at it. Standard music notation is just a way of communicating and documenting music. It's just another way of recording it. You can just as well record it onto a tape machine from the 80s, or a digital sampler, or a digital recorder that we have available to us now. It's really just a device to record music. just another way. I mean, back in the day, before any of our recording audio devices, music notation was extremely important. It was the only way that you could document a piece of music. Now we've got other forms. I don't believe that you have to be a good music notation reader to be a good player. Depends on the person. It depends on the style of music you're playing. If you're studying classical music, you definitely want to learn to read, because classical music is a lot more stringent than, say, the blues guitar, where you listen to a blues guitar player like Buddy Guy or Eric Clapton or B.B. King, and they never play their song quite the same way because their mood is different every time they play it. And after you've played a song a certain amount of times, you certainly don't want to play it the same way every time, because speaking from a musician standpoint, you get pretty bored of it. I like what Jimmy Vaughan said about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Jimmy said, yeah, my brother never played the same note once, never mind twice. Meaning that every time he played his song, he played it differently because he felt different about it. So music notation is, reading is always, of course, any of this knowledge is beneficial to your playing. It helps you along, but it's not the end of the world if you don't relate to reading, or like I've had some students that have autism and they don't like to read, but they still become really good players. There's lots of great players out there that don't read at all. So don't get lied to and say you have to read. If you get a teacher like that and you don't want to read, or you're not interested in reading for whatever reason you have, you don't have to. There are teachers out there that will teach you how to play without reading standard notation. And to be truthful, standard notation isn't the best form of notation for a guitar music where you do string bends, you know. I mean, writing something like that, what I just played, in standard notation is difficult. In tablature, though, it's much easier. And so tablature is a very good form of notation for the guitar. And again, some will turn a nose up to tablature, but to be truthful, tablature is actually an older form of written music than standard music notation. And it's much, much more friendlier for string instruments where you're stretching and sliding and doing movements, because the standard notation doesn't necessarily cover that. So those are some things, you know. Basically, this, you know, the guitar is a combination of like I said, basically the guitar is a combination of scales and chords. And what I just played here for you, the G, C, and D, is combined with a scale, and I've chosen particular sections out of the scale to embellish along with my chords. So the foundation of the guitar, any instrument for that matter, is scales and chords, and and how they work together to learn that. So there is theory that you can learn for that. It's the mathematical mechanical theory. And some teachers will lead you to believe that they're teaching a theory when they teach you to read, sight read, standard music notation. That's a different type of theory. That's the theory of reading written notation, as opposed to the theory of the mechanical theory, the mathematical theory of why these three chords sound good together and what scale fits with them, you know, and then what to do with that. That's what you need to learn, how to put that all together. So that's my advice on what to learn, or at least some of it. It's for everybody. There's individual needs, for sure. And like I said, I've taught students that can't read because they're blind, or have no interest, or their concentration level isn't very good, and they have difficulties reading a book, never mind reading music notation, yet they still learn to play really, really good. So don't let those things limit you. Find a teacher that's willing to teach you that, and you can always ask your teacher what program he's putting you on. And if you don't like it, then you have to search for somebody that will teach you what you're looking for. And if you can't find anybody, then you should check out my site at least. That's my site at riffninja.com. I really truly believe everybody can play the guitar if they want to. And you can't expect any more than what you physically can do. You have to be patient with yourself. I find that the older students are less patient with themselves and expect more out of themselves than they can possibly produce right away. So you got to be real with what your age is, how much experience you've had in the past. The time doesn't matter in the end. The time part isn't a factor. It is a factor when you're practicing. I look at it as like banking time. It's not how long you've been playing, it's how much time you put in. Because some guys have come to me and they've said, oh, I've been playing for 30 years. But they've been playing the same 6 chords for 30 years and they only play for like a half an hour a day. Whereas I could get a student that comes in and he's practicing 4 and 5 hours a day, and in 2 years he becomes a very, very good musician because of the way he's practicing. So time is an important thing. But don't let things like your age or the issue of whether you should or shouldn't read notated music, that shouldn't be the issue. And be kind to yourself and be patient, especially if you're older. When you watch the younger students, they learn faster, of course, especially in between the ages of 7 and 25. You'll find that you could have a lesson and be watching another student taking a lesson, and they could be quite a bit further ahead of you very quickly because of their age and the fact that maybe they're practicing a lot more than you because they got more time if you got a full-time job. So those are things to consider, because if you've got a young teenager, like 13 to 15-year-old teenager, and mom's doing their laundry, mom's cooking for them, mom and dad are paying for everything, they don't have a job, they can just go to school, and they have a few chores, but they got a lot more time to put into the guitar than you do. So you got to think about that. Anyways, those are some of my words of advice. And like I said before, if you are really serious about playing, I got a great site. Check out riffninja.com. You can actually have a free trial at my site, and you could check me out and see if I can help you out. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And it's the questions and the comments that are bringing these lessons to you. So if you've got questions or comments, by all means, please. Thank you very much. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for your time.